important factor for the Rays offensively, knowing that Burley's normally a slow starter, but this year he's off to a better start.
This year he's off to a great start. The one thing with him is he's going to throw the ball on the plate. He's going to throw the ball on the edges of the plate. So we just have to be confident with what our approach is, whether we're going to stay in, whether we're going to stay out, and it's going to differ for each guy. But he's going to come at you, and it's a matter of he's going to make you try to put the ball on the ground. We got to make sure he gets the ball up so we can try to get the ball up in the air.
So we'll see how that plays out tonight, guys. We are ready for baseball. Back we go to Dwayne and BA.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. And there is the 35-year-old lefty, Mark Burley. And, boy, what a start he has this year for this Toronto Blue Jays ball club, leading the American League with 8 wins. We'll take a look at the starting lineup for the Rays against Burley, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Yunel Escobar is going to lead off. He has good numbers here in this matchup. Evan Longoria remains second, then Logan Forsythe, Desmond Jennings, Sean Rodriguez, and Will Myers, James Loney, Jose Molina, and Matt Joyce rounding out Joe Maddon's lineup. As you know, Burley gets right down to business, sets his own pace, and it is usually a very quick pace. First pitch of this game swung on, and a fly ball into center. On the run, the center fielder goes. Can't come up with it. Backed up by Bautista, and Escobar stops it first. That first pitch presented by Pinch-A-Penny. And the Rays have a base runner.
Well, Mark Burley's going to come right after you, and Escobar knows that. He goes right after the first pitch, and this is a play right here that Anthony Gose will tell you he should have made. He covers a lot of ground, but you can see that ball right about waist level. That ball really should be caught. Was not. Let's see if the Rays can take advantage.
Escobar came into the game hitting a little over 380 against left-handed pitching. Is aboard, and now here's Evan Longoria. Evan at 271, held up on that pitch. Brian O'Nora down at first confirmed that he checked. Marvin Hudson calling the balls and strikes. Ground ball, third base. Francisco to Laurie, 1. First base, 2. Well, the base hit, and no sooner than that, the double play.
That's exactly what Derek Shelton was talking about in those opening comments that Todd had talked to him about before the game. He wants to get you off balance and get the ball on the ground. That's exactly what he did to Longoria, getting him to reach for the off speed and roll it over to Francisco, who started the double play. Well, that is his whole game. He is not going to blow you away. In fact, most of his pitches, he's going to pitch under hitting speed, but he changes speed so well and really screws with your timing.
And he takes charge out there with the quick pace he sets. In fact, it's even quicker this year than it's been in past seasons.
And that's hard to imagine. But you're right. Watch him catch the ball, and he's already right back up on that rubber.
Yeah,
and ready to go.
Shaved about a second off between pitches so far this year. Forsythe pops it to the right side. Lind, first baseman, in foul territory, and he overruns it.
Well, let's take a look at the Toronto Blue Jays anti-defense, brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. In the outfield, left to right, Melky Cabrera, Anthony Gose, and Jose Bautista. Across the infield, third to first, Juan Francisco, Jose Reyes, Brett Laurie, and Adam Lind. Deanna Navarro will be behind the plate. So much for that defense being sharp behind you when you work quickly.
Well, he was inspired so much he overreacted to that pop foul and overran it.
I mean, between Gose and now Adam Lind, you're right. Those are tough angles right there. And if you lose track of the ball just for a second, you can look foolish, and that's what happened there.
Now the count full, 2 outs, bases empty. Had a hit and a double play ball, and now 3-2 on Logan Forsythe. And the Rays get another base runner on ball 4. That brings up Desmond Jennings hitting cleanup again tonight. Our Buick big matchup today. And in his career against the Blue Jays, a .314 hitter with 10 home runs and 21 runs batted in. Desmond likes to hit in this ballpark. He has good numbers against the Blue Jays up here, and he takes a strike.
Well, you love those 10 home runs in 44 games, and as we touched on in the pregame show, you know, a modest little 5-game streak of reaching base safely, his on-base percentage around 400 in that time frame. And good things happen when Desmond Jennings is getting on base and being productive. He brings too much to the game and too much to the offensive side for the Rays that if he's being productive and getting on base, he makes everybody around him better.
And he has an interesting combination of some pop in his bat and speed on the bases.
This is a guy who, you know, 2 times in the last, I don't know, week, 2 weeks, 2 big home runs to right center field. That is big boy land when you hit the ball out that way, and he's done it a couple of times recently.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
And if you're thinking about the running game against Mark Buehrle, think about something else. This is a guy who's got a very good pickoff move, controls the running game very, very well.
Pitch popped up. Lind will get another shot at first base, and he makes the catch this time coming in. Rays lead a man. We go to the bottom of the first. No score. With Toronto coming in to hit. Looking at Jose Reyes, he's their leadoff man as we peruse the starting lineup presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Reyes followed by Melky Cabrera, hitting .429 against the Rays this year. Then Bautista, followed by Adam Lind. Edwin Encarnacion, the DH. Juan Francisco at third. Laurie again at second. Deanna Navarro behind the plate. Anthony Gose hits ninth, the center fielder.
Taking the mound tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays, right-hander Alex Cobb, who came back. He was gone for about, well, almost 6 weeks. Came back in his last start, first start off that layoff. Pitched into the 7th inning, 6 2/3, 3 hits, no earned runs, struck out 6, and he did it all on just 96 pitches.
Yeah, 2 of the more efficient pitchers on the mound squaring off tonight in Cobb and Buehrle. Now Reyes, switch hitting shortstop, and he takes the first pitch. That's in there for a strike.
And both of these guys really take command of the mound, take command of the plate. They are the 2 that are going to determine how the game's going to move, set the pace.
Oh, 2. Cobb, 26 years old. An 11-game winner last year for the Rays. To go with 3 losses, that covered 22 starts. Reyes is out on strikes. That pitch started to disappear. He started to go after it. Tried to check, and he's out on strikes.
I'll tell you what, when Alex Cobb gets to 2 strikes, you're going to see this pitch at such a high percentage, and everybody knows it. I mean, everybody knows it, but it's such a good pitch, as you saw from that center field camera shot. Watch how this ball stays in the strike zone. Now Reyes has got to make his mind up, and by the time he does that, look where it goes. That's what you're forced to deal with.
So if you like pitching, this is the game to see with these 2 guys on the mound. First pitch strike to Melky Cabrera.
And there isn't all this walking around and taking your time and tugging at this and reciting whatever it is you're reciting and thinking. Just, you know what you're going to throw. Get it and throw it.
And that's what they do right with the best of them. 1-1. And the defenders behind him continue to tell you the same thing. Reyes was talking about playing behind Burley and what a treat it is to be an infielder behind him. And the same way with Alex Cobb. There's a ground ball to short. Escobar handles that. So 2 up and 2 down.
Well, you know, Dwayne, speaking of the defense, why don't we take a look at the Rays tonight? Brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. In the outfield, left to right, Sean Rodriguez, Desmond Jennings, and Will Myers. Across the infield, third to first, Longoria, Escobar, Forsythe, and Loney. Jose Molina will be behind the plate. And going back to your comments that you were talking about Jose Reyes, speaking about, right there, they are.
There they are. He's just telling them what a pleasure it is to play shortstop behind them.
Yeah. And it's what's left unsaid that tells you where these position players stand. You know, you'll always hear them come out and say what a pleasure it is to work behind a guy who works quickly. They'll never criticize a pitcher for working slowly, but boy, do they love talking about when a pitcher works quickly. And that tells you where they all stand.
Pitch down to Jose Bautista. The count is 1-1. Well, why wouldn't you? The game is at a quicker pace. Every defender feels he's more involved.
You know you can't take any time off. Ball may be coming your way very soon.
Through the right side for Bautista. A fastball, and he strokes it into right.
You know, and every one of these pitchers, too, from Alex Cobb to Burley all the way down the line, they have a game plan coming in to a start. They know exactly what they want to do with each guy, how they'd like to start them, adjustments that may need to be made if you fall behind in a count or if a guy gives you a different look. And so when you throw that pitch, your brain immediately tells you what you want to go with next. You know that standing out there, so there's no reason to delay the inevitable. Just get up there and get it done.
Here's Adam Lind. His average is .325. And he's seeing a lot of right-handed pitching these days with the way the Blue Jays have their offensive part of their roster set. It's in such a situation that Lind doesn't have to face a lot of lefties. John Gibbons can pattern his lineups depending on the lefty-righty situation. And Lind pretty productive to this point. .381 against right-handed pitching.
You know, that goes to what he does. I mean, look at the breakout. It's dramatic as you're going to see. But also goes back to those lefties or the right-handed hitters, you know, Pilar, Tollison, guys that are getting it done against lefties at a very high rate. That's what allows John Gibbons to be able to do that and feel good about each lineup. Listen, they've been handling left-handed pitching all year with the platoon situation. And then Adam Lind is your right-handed killer.
Pitch down and in. It's 1-2. Well, Cobb's first start of the year came against the Blue Jays. He dropped a 4-2 decision when the Blue Jays scored 3 runs in the first off him. And all 3 of those runs came on the shot off the bat of Adam Lind.
That was a hanging split changeup.
Runner at first base, Bautista. Here's a look at that shot off the bat of Lind.
I know Alex Cobb missed some injury time, obviously, but those were the last runs that he gave up. It was in that ballgame. After that, 3 straight scoreless starts, including his last one against Oakland a few days ago.
Ground ball. Forsythe takes care of that. A base hit, a man left, no runs, and we head into the 2nd inning. Scoreless in Toronto. In the Blue Jays in tonight's game and all season long, Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. First pitch in the 2nd inning, Sean Rodriguez, who leads the team in home runs, takes the ball. 6 homers and 17 runs batted in for Sean. He drives it into left. Cabrera is right there to catch it on a line, and that's the first out.
And he's done that all, well, now in 74 at-bats. Sean Rodriguez swinging a good bat against lefties, and he hit that ball hard. He's jumped in and got some right-handers, too. Think about that home run off Luke Gregerson that ended that, got the Rays on that 4-game winning streak that was halted last night.
Will Myers will take the first pitch, and that's in there for a strike. And around his feet. Count is 1-1. Well, Burley has a game plan, and he doesn't give hitters a lot of time to think about what they're seeing. He's in control, and he has them reacting to whatever he wants to serve up there. And Myers out in front, 1-2.
Well, think how he started Myers. First pitch curveball strike, then he moves his feet. You always have to throw up and in to move a guy's feet, make him a little bit uncomfortable, and then drop that curveball, slow curve on the outer half and get him to chase.
You know, that's a great point, too. Here's a guy who does throw. I mean, his fastball is about 83, 84. But he'll use his ability and his command of pitches around the strike zone, around the edges of the strike zone, and move hitters. Even though he's throwing 83, it's not always a comfortable at bat.
No, he's all about disrupting your comfort at the plate, disrupting your rhythm, your timing. That's his whole game plan is hinged on those principles. And if he's able to do that, it puts him in the driver's seat. So far this year, he's been able to do that in 9 out of his 10 starts. He's had one rough start all year. That's it. In fact, 9 of the 10 starts, 2 earned runs or fewer. You talk about consistency.
He was 12-10 last year in 33 starts, 8-1 already this year. And there's strike 3 call. Slipped the fastball in there. That one up around 86 and gets his first strikeout.
Well, Myers didn't like it, but you know, this is a close pitch here. It's going to be borderline. Fastball in. Now, you take a veteran pitcher like that and put the call in the hands of the home plate umpire, in this case Marvin Hudson, and you're not really sure what you're going to get, and he rung him.
And you know, that's the other thing. Here's a guy always around the plate with a quick pace, and you think that might lend him getting a few more calls from the plate umpire.
These umpires, listen, they're human beings, and as much as they try to, you know, keep everything squared up and on point, they get caught up in these kind of games too. And all of a sudden, lots of strikes, things are moving quick, and they get into strike calling mode.
There's Loney out in front. The count is 0-2. He'll give you the mid-80s fastball and then change 77, 78. Ground ball. Laurie from short right field throws out Loney. The Rays are up and down. We go to the bottom of the second inning, scoreless. Sports presented by Toyota. Let's go places. AT&T, mobilizing your world. Checkers brings big flavor for a small price. Feed your craving for quality for only $1. Cha-ching. And by T-Mobile, Tuesday Night Baseball. Well, there's Edwin Encarnacion stepping in here to lead off the bottom of the second. He has been the biggest moving part of this Toronto offense lately. 15 home runs on the year, including one in the 6th inning of last night's game. First pitch from Alex Cobb misses. 1 ball and no strikes. 13 home runs in the month of May for Encarnacion. Is Escobar gloving it? And on the second pitch of the inning, the DH Encarnacion retired.
Well, that's the one thing that this Blue Jay lineup does. It's very powerful through the middle. You've got the speed of Reyes at the top. You've got the speed of Anthony Gose down at the bottom. Juan Francisco, this is another guy who comes in, plays against righties, has a tremendous amount of power. They just force you to have to execute pitches at a very high level if you want to have success.
Now Juan Francisco, 8 home runs on the year, 7 of those against right-handed pitching. And there's a strike call. Well, you go down the middle of this lineup, and with what Juan Francisco has done against right-handed pitching, 7 homers, 15 runs batted in, hitting .333. So when he's in there against right-handers, starting with Melky Cabrera, you go Cabrera, Bautista, Lind, Encarnacion, and then Francisco. And the slugging percentage of that group, well over .550 collectively. That's some power in the middle of a lineup. Strike 3 called. Nice pitch around the knees. Francisco caught looking.
Now a couple of curveballs to jump out ahead. Everybody sits around and waits for that split right there. And that's at 89 miles an hour. Almost looked like a little two-seamer. And Alex is just able to catch Francisco by surprise and freeze him.
Two up, 2 down. There's Brett Laurie. He drives it into left center field. Well tagged, 1 hop and up over the fence for a ground rule double. Laurie aggressively jumping on the first pitch.
Well, again, they force you to execute at a high level, and if you miss a pitch out over the plate, they're fully equipped to take advantage. And this ball, middle of the plate and elevated, and Laurie's able to get into it and drive it out there for a 2-out double.
Here's the interesting thing, I think, BA, about this lineup. They are an aggressive lineup, but they're not wild swingers. They're aggressive, and there's a difference. You know, they're not taking a lot of pitches. They're not walking a lot. They're not striking out a lot. For a team as aggressive as they are, they're really in the middle of the pack when it comes to strikeouts.
Yeah, and that's what makes them, again, a dangerous lineup. You're right. They don't waste a lot of time. This lineup collectively goes to the plate ready to hit.
Yep.
They are ready to hit, and if you give them something close, they're going to take some swings. But at the same time, their ability to put the ball in play with 2 strikes on them, better than most teams that swing like they do.
And, that aggressive approach goes back to when Cito Gaston managed this team. Dwayne Murphy as their hitting coach. They stress being aggressive, and there's a difference between just going out and swinging at every pitch you see.
Yeah.
There's Cito right there. So his effect still very much in evidence of this Toronto ball club.
Yeah, there's aggressive and then there's reckless. And they are able to stay on that side of being aggressive. And you know what? As a pitcher coming in to face this lineup, hey, I had better be on. My command had better be very good.
Yeah.
I better be hitting my spots, or it's going to be a short night for me.
And you wonder, because there's been such an emphasis in the game about working counts, taking a lot of pitches, seeing a lot of pitches, and we're in an era now where strikeouts continue to increase. You compare them to what they were in the 80s and what they are now, it's night and day. And there is, I think, an argument to be made that maybe sometimes a club will see too many pitches, which in and of itself will get you to 2 strikes more often than, say, this lineup of the Blue Jays. I mean, they're aggressive, but again, I'm in the middle of the pack when it comes to striking out.
I think there's more than an argument to be made. I think that you're really onto something there. And, the plus side of doing that is you can maybe get into the bullpen a little sooner. You work a starter's pitch count up. But there is a downside, too. And that downside is positions because you see so many pitches. You're going to have to be really comfortable hitting with 2 strikes.
Yep.
And a lot of guys aren't.
And we all know we want to keep ourselves out of compromising positions.
Amen.
3-1 the count to Navarro. And Molina's going to make a trip to the mound. 2-out double here by Laurie. I mean, if you're a pitcher with decent command, you want those lineups to see a lot of pitches, or try to see a lot of them, because you're going to get them to 2 strikes more often. So I think that works right into a good pitcher's hands. Now it's 3-2 to DeHonor.
You remember, and I know he had a rough start last night, but when Eric Bedard got on his run, it was in Boston, and he was aggressive with that lineup. That lineup's used to seeing a lot of pitches and being up in the count a lot. Well, Bedard went out there and started going up 0-2. Yep. That puts them on the defensive. They're not used to being in those positions. They're used to 2-1, 3-0, those kind of counts.
Ground ball, right side, short right where Forsythe is positioned, and he throws out Navarro. We're through 2, no score. The Rays take on the Mariners June 8th. Purchase this specially priced Father-Daughter Day ticket package and receive a commemorative Rays Father-Daughter Baseball for just $30. For tickets, visit www.raysbaseball.com/special events. Well, Burley and Cobb actually matching each other pitch by pitch here in the first 2 innings. For Burley, 13 pitches in the first, 13 pitches in the second. For Cobb, 13 pitches in the first and 13 pitches in the second. Molina pops the first pitch out of play on the first base side. That's a strike.
And we figured this was going to be a really good and fun pitching matchup to watch. That's kind of creepy.
Is this strange?
Yeah,
yep.
That's kind of creepy.
Molina to be followed by Joyce. A big cut there by Molina. He was inspired by that pitch. Big cut by a big man right there.
It came right out of his feet. Watch this. Just
make sure that that backswing didn't hurt Navarro. Molina checked with him, and now the training staff got him on the back side of the glove hand. So they want to check that finger that was protruding.
Well, you got that index finger out of the glove and that backswing right on top of it. Wow.
Yeah, and anything on that receiving hand. Here's Navarro walking off. We'll see. There's a great deal of discomfort you could see in Navarro's left hand there.
You got to tape it up, maybe.
And I think they are. So on the backswing, Navarro suffers that injured finger. So he apparently is going to try to continue as they tape it up. Fans, don't miss tomorrow's Wednesday night showdown presented by Mazda as the Rays take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Right here on Sun Sports, our coverage begins at 6:30, and Chris Archer will make the start tomorrow against Liam Hendricks.
You know, now you got to be able to catch a few and see how that feels. And he's saying that's just fine. This may be the one guy that you want on the mound.
Yeah, that's right.
You're not someone throwing 95 and sparking that thing up. Stick down there in the low to mid 80s.
Oh, 2 the count to Molina, set to resume. And wouldn't you know it, a foul ball. And that one got Navarro. On the very next pitch, this one gets him somewhere on the right arm.
Oh, so you want to be a catcher?
That's a foul ball. Well, Molina is handing out what he gets a lot of. We see him take a beating back there almost every time he's behind the plate. And that foul ball right off the right arm. Molina not being very kind to a member of his catching fraternity here in this at bat. A little wide right there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And a base hit from Molina through the hole between short and third. So Molina, who came into the game hitting 104, fouled off a number of pitches and has a single through the left side to begin the third.
Well, he was able to see a number of those curveballs and foul them off. Actually saw a number of pitches in that at bat, and I think that benefited him in getting that average up to 118.
It's a productive at bat there. 14 points added to that average. Here's Matt Joyce. Pitch inside to Matt. Joyce in there against Burley. As Matt doesn't see a lot of left-handed pitching. And he takes this pitch down. Matt 0 for 14 against lefties this year. Tapper foul. 2-1. Check swing and a foul ball back. Top of the order, Escobar on deck.
Well, the Blue Jays have completely switched up their infield defense now. They're almost playing Matt Joyce straight up, and everybody has swung across. This right here is Juan Francisco, your third baseman.
And now Joyce tries to bunt, and bunts foul.
That is where the defense forces you into doing something that you probably shouldn't do. Matt Joyce, because of that late shift and the whole left side being wide open, as you can see right here, here is Juan Francisco, the Blue Jay third baseman. Everything to the right of him is wide open, and Matt Joyce with 2 strikes tries to take advantage, and it causes him to strike out. That's how a shift can get you.
Second strikeout of the game for Burley. So Matt decided to try to put down the bunt. If he could put it down, a sure hit. But if you don't, you're out on strikes, as he bunted foul with 2 strikes. First pitch is a strike to Escobar.
That shift will victimize you while you hit into it, and it can get you even when you don't.
Check swing, foul ball, 0-2. Top half of the third. Outfield around to the right side for Escobar. Burley misses in off the plate. 1-2. Ghost shaded a bit toward right center, and Bautista a few steps toward the line in right field. Ground ball to second. Laurie to Reyes across the bag, and the throw to first. Safe the call there. Brian Honora looking in. And here comes John Gibbons. So Molina forced at second.
Well, the only thing that took so long here was Brett Laurie had to wait for Jose Reyes to get there. So there's just a little pause there. And then coming across the bag, the return throw. Boy, that is awfully close. Awfully close. And I think that's going to stand.
Ooh. Yeah, it has to be clear and convincing.
That was the angle that gave the Blue Jays their best chance, was that one right there, but it was just tough to tell. That foot just above the bag as the ball hits the back of the glove, and that is what is considered a catch on these types of plays.
So Gibbons has a decision to make here. Is he going to challenge the call or not? And apparently we're going to have a challenge.
Well, that last angle that we showed was the best argument for the Blue Jays that we saw, the 3 angles that we saw. But it's going to be, I don't know, clear and convincing. I don't know if it reaches that threshold.
Well, 2 things here. If he doesn't win it, then he's out of challenges. And Burley's out there waiting around on the mound. And they're going to call him out. So the Blue Jays challenge, and they get the double play. 4-6-3 on the double play. We'll go to the bottom of the third. No score.
Scoreless, Alex Cobb on the mound for the Rays. While it is May, tomorrow's game 54, which is the 1/3 point of the season. And Alex Cobb knows that with Toronto leading by 7 games, tonight has some significance.
You don't try to put importance on any type of game more than another at a certain period of time during the season, but this game right now is going to be just as important as a game in September, and you know, it's kind of getting to that point where we're going to start seeing some separation in teams from top to bottom. So we definitely don't want to be left in the bottom of this, and this is the best team to go after right now to start creeping back up towards the top.
And they have crept towards the top with Alex Cobb healthy, guys. They are 5 games over 500 with Alex Cobb active, and when he is not active, they are 9 games under. Back to you.
Well, here's Anthony Ghost taking the first pitch for a strike. 1-1. Two balls and a strike. Cobb gave up a 2-out single in the first, a 2-out double in the second. Rays have 2 hits. The Blue Jays have 2 hits. That evens the count. 2-2. Foul ball chopped down the first base side. Well, Todd and Alex Cobb making the point in that last report leading into the bottom of the third. All of these games now 1 by 1 important for the Rays as they stand 7 games back. Cut and a miss. Ghost. Strikeout number 3 for Cobb.
You know, we've seen a couple almost different versions of that split changeup tonight. A harder one. You see the grip there. Now watch this one. Doesn't finish down. Look at it just take off. I mean, just sails on Ghost. And it's a little bit harder.
Well, here's a guy, and one of the reasons Cobb is so successful, he changes speeds, but he also changes directions. What a great combination for a pitcher. 1 strike to count to Reyes. Chop, that's charged by Forsythe. And the throw to first, 2 quick outs in the third.
The other thing that we've noticed in the early going tonight, Alex Cobb understanding that this team comes ready to hit as much as anybody in the game of baseball, and you've seen a number of first pitch strikes with the curveball. Just take that aggression right away from them, get up in the count 0-1. Then you want to go to the fastball fine, but it just has opened up the door as far as first pitch strikes go. 8 out of 10, and a number of those off speed.
First pitch inside to Cabrera.
That could be such a weapon when you can drop in a quality curveball to get the jump in a count.
One and one, the ball sliced out of play. Cabrera came into the game 3 hits, 9 at bats against Cobb. He's grounded out his first time. The 5th leading hitter in the American League overall, Cabrera. One ball, 2 strikes. Rays and the Blue Jays, no score in the bottom of the third.
And look at the array of pitches, the quality of the stuff that Alex is featuring tonight, and those are the kind of swings you're getting. Just defensive, back on your heels types of swings. from a team who put up 10 runs last night and were in complete control all night long.
Well, they've seen so many of his pitches with a late break on them. The first time through, now they're through the second time, and it's almost to Cobb's advantage that they've seen him the first time, because now they're trying to react to that late movement on his pitches and the change of speed, and that puts him on the defensive.
He gives you a lot to think about. He gives you both sides of the plate. He gives you 3 quality pitches.
Yeah, he gives you a lot to think about and not a lot of time to think about it.
No. That's the key for both of these guys tonight.
And the pitch misses, a full count as a result.
That's the one Alex wanted. You saw him start to drift towards the Rays dugout, thinking that he maybe had strike 3 there on Cabrera. Good fastball. Must have been just a touch up.
And there's a cut and a miss. 4th strikeout of the game for Alex Cobb. 1-2-3. Go the Blue Jays. No score. Evan Longoria leading it off. A ball, no strikes, the count. Forsythe and Jennings to follow Evan, who fouls one back. The pitch count remains pitch by pitch. 13, 13, and 16 for Burley. 13, 13, and 16 for Cobb. So both pitchers, 42 pitches through the first 3 innings. It's now 2-1 to count to Longoria. Liner into left. There's a base hit for Evan. Leadoff single. The Rays, for the 3rd time now in the first 4 innings, have put the leadoff man on base.
Well, 2-1. The account swings in Evan's favor, and Mark Burley tries to surprise him with a pitch in. You see Evan able to yank the hands through, catch that ball crisp. Good start here for the Rays.
Forsythe takes a strike over the outside edge.
Different lineup tonight for the Rays. You saw Escobar in the leadoff spot here. Logan Forsythe is hitting 3rd.
Yeah, Joe Madden Wanted to leave Longoria in that number 2 spot where he's gotten some response from that move. Edmonds been swinging a pretty good bat since going into the 2nd spot.
And you can understand that, but then you think about a guy like James Loney, who hits lefties as well as he hits righties. He's down 7.
Yeah, he's over a 300 hitter this year against left-handed pitching. One hop and it skips by Reyes, who jabbed at it with his glove. Longoria goes to 2nd, and Forsythe is aboard. Reyes upset with himself. The Rays have 2 men on.
There have been a number of plays tonight for the Blue Jays that they wish they had back and probably figure they should have made. That right there, a backhand that you see Jose Reyes make all the time. It wasn't that difficult of a play. Off the glove, we saw Ghost to lead the game off the first pitch of the game out in center fielder, a play that he probably thinks he should have made.
So a couple of base hits to begin the 4th. Here's Desmond Jennings. Desmond puts down a bunt. That's a foul ball. Marvin Hudson calling it foul. Navarro jumped on it and fired down to 3rd, trying to get the force on Longoria.
Boy, and a good thing, too, because watch Navarro coming out quick to try to get that in fair territory.
Ball hit in fair territory and then went back foul. Jennings came into this game 6 of 15 in his career against Burley. One ball, one strike. The right side, that's going to be out of play. Mark Burley, 35 years old, has 181 major league wins. And one of those, the perfect game he threw against the Rays in July of 2009 while a member of the White Sox. One of his 29 complete games. 2-2. In fact, Burley had that perfect game, and then he went out the next time out against Minnesota and retired 17 straight. He had a run of 45 straight hitters retired. Now 3-2 the count to Desmond Jennings. Well, nobody retired here in the 4th. Singles by Longoria and Forsythe. Full count to Jennings with Sean Rodriguez on deck. Swing and a miss. He went to 3-2 and gets the strikeout of Jennings.
How about that? Mark Burley, middle in with some elevation on a fastball. Probably his best velocity of the night at 85. And he's able to power this pitch right past Desmond Jennings. Up, cannot get there. Well, that's a big strikeout. Really looked like the Rays, and they still have a tremendous opportunity here. But with Desmond having success off of them, full count, you know you're going to get a pitch to hit. Just miss it.
Now Sean Rodriguez. Sean had the pinch hit go-ahead 3-run homer Sunday against Boston. One ball, one strike.
Well, early in this count, Mark Burley, he wants Sean Rodriguez. He knows that runner in scoring position, Sean wants to jump on one and pull it, so he's trying to get him to reach, maybe get a ground ball.
Stays away off the plate. 2 balls and a strike. Will Myers on deck. Shot up the right side. That's going to be a fair ball. Bound into foul territory. Longoria scores. They'll stop Forsythe on a double by Sean Rodriguez, and the Rays take a 1-0 lead. Well, Sean Rodriguez dropped it fair just inside the right field line for a 2-base hit, driving in the first run of the night.
Well, a well-placed miss hit here by Sean Rodriguez. This ball right off the end of the bat. Almost like it's not sure where he even hit it. Kind of out in front. He just cues it off the end. But look at the placement. Just drops it over the head of Lind. And the Rays are off and running.
A run home. Now 2 men in scoring position here in the 4th inning for Will Myers. Big cut and a miss by Will. Burley taking a little bit more off that pitch.
Well, this is where Will Myers needs to think middle of the field and stay on these pitches. He has a tendency to spin out anyway, has that hold down and away. Really got to stay disciplined here. You got a chance to knock in at least one more run.
Ground ball, deep short, throw to third. They're going to get Rodriguez caught in a rundown. He is tagged by Reyes. Ball comes loose, but after the roll, the Rays get Forsythe home. So it's a 2-0 ball game, and Rodriguez caught between second and third with Myers reaching.
Aggressive base running there by Sean Rodriguez, trying to get to third base, but with Jose Reyes able to get to that ground ball, that becomes the easiest play for him. You're not going to be able to cut down the runner at home, but Sean Rodriguez running right in front of you, and this becomes too easy.
So 6-5 on the out. Loney is the hitter. Longoria and Forsythe have scored the runs. Myers at first on a fielder's choice, picking up a run batted in. James Loney looks at a strike. To the count. Well, they've had some difficulty corralling souvenir baseballs down that right field side, and that ball retrieved, and turns out to be a souvenir after all. Runner goes, pitch driven deep to center field. Goes, turns around, goes back to the track, and makes the catch on the long drive off the bat of James Loney. Rays score 2 and lead 2-0. Lead as we move into the bottom of the 4th inning. Alex Cobb back out on the hill. Our Toyota trend, you can see Cobb's career breakout inside the American League East, where he has done his best work. 11-4 against the AL East with a 2.72 ERA.
And really, you don't find that at all surprising, understanding the type of competitor that Alex Cobb is. And you know, he goes out there against those American League East teams that you see so often. There's such good embedded rivalries within the division, and he's able to go out and excel.
Yeah, the impressive thing about Cobb, he's capable of passing the mental side and really the emotional, psychological side of this game into the physical side of executing it. He does a great job of that. And the first pitch to Jose Bautista is a strike call. It's ahead of the right fielder.
Another curveball, too. Getting the jump with that pitch.
It's 1-1. Popper short left. Escobar starts out as there and makes the catch going out from shortstop. Nice little play. Bautista, dangerous hitter, taken care of there.
And another awkward swing. You know, that's what Alex Cobb has done by going out there, getting ahead of hitters, a lot of off speed to get ahead. And here in a 1-1 count, this swing by Bautista. Just look at that. Just an awkward little swing on a ball moving into him. Weak contact. And a quick out here in the 4th.
Yeah, how often do you see Bautista be that easy of an out? But his ability to move the ball and change speeds. There's a first pitch strike to Lynn.
And then when he does come with that first pitch fastball, you catch a hitter just watching it come in. That's a pitcher these guys want to jump on.
Liner into left. That's going to fall. Rodriguez started to charge and realized that he's going to have to play it on one hop. So there's a 1-out single in the 4th. On the next edition of Inside the Rays, we'll take a look into the life and career of Rays first baseman James Loney, beginning with Loney's early years in Texas, learning baseball from his father, to having his first child in 2013 and signing a 3-year deal with the Rays. Tune in. You'll hear from his teammates, manager Joe Madden, as well as his former high school coaches and teachers. Loney at First airs Sunday after Rays Live. There's a strike to Encarnacion. And a few words with Marvin Hudson. Take a look at that pitch. Foxtrack liked it on the corner. Two balls and a strike, the count. Now the count is 3-1 to Encarnacion. Lind at first. Bautista retired on the pop to short left, handled by Escobar. Encarnacion's been hot all month. Dangerous count, 3-1. And he throws him a fastball for strike 2.
I'll tell you what, a gutsy pitch in a tough count. 3-1. You got to figure that Encarnacion is looking to turn and burn on a fastball, and Alex gives him one middle in. Bat never leaves his shoulder.
Runner goes. The pitch is outside for ball 4. And the Blue Jays have runners at first and second. First walk given up by Cobb.
Now he gets the fastball in, then tries to shoot the corner in a full count, just misses. And not out of the woods yet. Juan Francisco, a tremendous amount of power at the plate right now. 2 runners aboard, 1 out.
Juan Francisco was called out on strikes in the second inning. He has a new lease on life here in a Blue Jays uniform. Came into the game hitting .277. Lifts it into center field. Coming in on it, Jennings makes the catch. So Francisco is out number 2. Boy, that change of speed, so effective.
Just enough, because Francisco actually had a good swing at that pitch, but he was out in front and it hit the end of the bat. It cracked the bat and led to a soft fly to center. Watch him just a little bit out in front of that thing. You could hear the bat crack up here. That ball just kind of floated out there right into the hands of Jennings.
Well, Brett Laurie pitches down, 1-0. 2 men on, 2 men out. Ball, that's foul. It's 1-1. The second time tonight the Blue Jays have a runner in scoring position. First time was Laurie's 2-out double in the second. Now he's up here with Lind at second and Encarnacion at first. 2 gone. Inside, 2 balls and a strike. Molina and Cobb talk it over in front of the mound. Cobb came into this game with a run of 21 2/3 scoreless innings in succession. He surpassed James Shields and Matt Moore. Ground ball, that's foul. Coming in with 21 2/3 innings. Shields had 23 innings inside a single season. That was in 2011. Matt Moore last year 22 1/3. And Cobb right now is over 25 consecutive scoreless innings. 3 balls, 2 strikes now to Laurie.
Yep, and with 2 outs, the base runners will be off and running. Blue Jays want to answer what the Rays did in the top half of the inning, and Cobb, of course, wants that shutdown 0 to go up. Give his offense an opportunity to add on. You're going to bring out Jose Molina. They want to make sure, understanding this is a big spot of the game here early on.
Now, Laurie had a couple of hits last night in 5 at-bats, including an RBI single in the 5th inning. We saw him be very aggressive on a pitch up and probably out of the strike zone away for that hit in the 5th.
That pitch last night, that was neck high.
3-2. Fouls that one.
Oh, and he was very aggressive in his first at bat, lining that ball out deep into left center field. It was a first pitch fastball that was elevated. I'm going to talk about it again.
Single and a walk, 2 men on with 2 men out. And again, the 3-2 pitch from Cobb to Laurie. Strokes a base hit into right. Myers will charge it. Lynn heads to the plate. The throw cut off. And now it's 2-1. Lynn scores on the RBI single to right.
And I don't know if Lynn scores if it wasn't a full count. That ball got out to Will Myers relatively quickly. But with him, everybody running on a full count, he's able to score easily. Great job by Brett Laurie in the 2-strike hitting. Just shooting the gap over there on the right side. See, he's off and running. There's contact. He's got a good 4 or 5 steps in before contact's even made. That makes this run for the Blue Jays easy.
Here's Deanna Navarro with men on the corners now. Strike at the knees.
Now, the other thing that you're thinking with Adam Lind and getting that head start is if he doesn't, I can't imagine that goatee does a whole lot for his aerodynamics.
No, but it could propel his balance forward toward the plate if he leads with his head.
Only if running at an angle.
Ground ball, that's going to go through the left side, a base hit. Encarnacion scores. Navarro reaching out, found the hole on the left side, and the game is tied.
We talk an awful lot about this team's power, and for good reason. They lead the major leagues in home runs by a wide margin. But how about these last 2 hits with 2 outs to tie this game? Laurie goes the other way. Deandre Navarro goes the other way. A good piece of hitting by both of those guys, and the Blue Jays have come back and with 2 outs tied this game. That's a tough blow for the Rays looking to get out of this inning, and you get a walk and then a couple of base hits, and here you are tied up.
Here's Anthony Gose. He takes the pitch for a strike. Couple of big 2-out hits from Laurie and Navarro to tie the game. Nothing in 2. Down in front of Luis Rivera, the third base coach, and beyond. So the scoreless streak ends at 25 1/3 innings. 2 strikes the count to Gose. Into the dirt, getting away from Molina. Skipping off to the right. Laurie goes to third. Navarro up to second. That'll be scored. A wild pitch.
Well, down in the dirt, Molina doesn't get quite around in time, and instead of smothering that ball in front of him, it's able to ricochet off to the right and goes far enough away. That's the one you'd like to get a little bit quicker jump on it and get out in front and over the top of that baseball, smother in front of you.
Now 2 men have moved into scoring position. And there's strike 3 called on the inside edge. That retires the side, but 7 men come to the plate. The Blue Jays score 2. We're tied. On to the 5th, 2-2. presented by Nissan. Get to your local Nissan store for the ride of your life and save big today. Shop ChooseNissan.com. And by Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. When cancer strikes, strike back with CyberKnife. Available exclusively at Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. Into the fifth inning, and a Rays fan. I got a little Canadian popcorn right there. At Rogers Center.
Popcorn's tremendous wherever you get it.
Here's Jose Molina. First pitch from Burley is a strike on the outside corner. Well, the Rays scored 2 in the top of the fourth. The Blue Jays right back with 2 in the bottom of the fourth. And a ground ball base hit up the middle. That gives Molina 2 for 2. How about that? Molina came into the game 7 out of 67, hitting 104. And he is 2 for 2 tonight off the left-hander Mark Burley. Leadoff single. And here's Matt Joyce. Off the plate in. Ground ball right back to Burley, out at second, out at first on the 1-6-3. Check swing hopper right back to the mound, leading to 2.
That's 3. That's 3 ground ball double plays by Burley. One coming after a review, but a little half swing by Joyce right back to Burley. Jose Molina not going to be anywhere near second base to try to break that up, and he just decides to abort, pull the ripcord, and drop.
Escobar takes a pitch outside. Two and 0. Three and 0 now. There's a strike. 3-1. Skied to right. That's Bautista under it. And the Rays are out in the fifth. We go to the bottom half of the frame, tied 2-2.
fifth inning. Toronto scored 2 in the bottom half of the fourth, the longest inning of the night for Alex Cobb, 26 pitches. He knows when you go against Mark Burley, it can be a challenge catching your breath after an inning like that.
Your rest is very welcomed when you have a struggled inning after a grinding top half or whatever it might be of an inning, and when the guy's just cruising, he puts you right back out there. It gets a little bit tiring. So you try to catch your breath quick when he's out on the mound. You know you're going to get back. But I actually enjoy that. I love getting back into the rhythm and getting back out there and putting him back out there. And I think everybody likes that side of baseball. I don't think everybody wants to sit around and just watch drawn-out process.
So despite the leadoff hit by Jose Molina last inning, it took 2 minutes and 45 seconds from first pitch to last out. Guys, back to you.
All right, Todd, thank you. So back to the mound goes Alex Cobb, facing the top of the order, and a shot right back at Cobb. That ball deflects off Alex and trickles in front of the mound, and Cobb down on one knee and now up again. He took quite a shot on the leg, apparently. Up on the right leg, it appeared. And boy, given his history, that had to be harrowing there for just a moment.
Yep. Brings back some nasty memories.
Ray's going to make sure he's all right.
Well, that's his push-off leg, too. And got him up high. Hopefully the majority got him in the meaty part of the leg.
Boy, it could certainly be unnerving to see a line drive back to the mound like that. It deflected off Cobb's right leg. You can see he's saying that he's all right, but the Rays want to make sure. That's enough to convince Joe Madden. Mark Vincent out there as well from the Rays training staff. Reyes at first. We're happy to be able to smile about that now. That was scary indeed. Here's Melky Cabrera. Over to first, and Reyes is back in there.
Going to go right back over there, too.
So keeping an eye on Reyes, who's 10 of 11 in the steal department, including the 3-steal game on Sunday.
This is what he does. He forces you to pay attention to him because of those numbers right there.
And again over there.
Well, last year in a little bit over 143 innings against Alex Cobb, base stealers were 12 out of 16. This year, just 1 out of 2 in limited action.
Now the pitch, it's too high. Reyes aboard on the line drive that deflected off Cobb's right leg up around the thigh area. Unnerving, and that it recall last June's line drive off the bat of Eric Hosmer when Cobb suffered that concussion and was out until the middle of August. Close that time at first. Reyes back in. Well, that long fourth inning, and then the quick top of the fifth by Burley, and here in the bottom of the fifth, Reyes lining that one off Cobb's leg. Pitch is down. Saw Cabrera ducking as Molina started looking toward first.
Look at how Jose Reyes has affected this at bat. Yeah, he throws over 3 times, and then he gets a little bit too quick on a curveball to home plate, hangs up there for ball 1. Then he goes to a little modified slide step and throws one in the dirt. You've got Molina coming out of there looking like he wants to throw. Everybody paying attention to Jose Reyes. And that's exactly how he wants it.
He's going. Pitch hit on the ground. Escobar will have to go back after that one. Throw to first out there. Reyes turning the bag, but hanging on at second. So the Blue Jays advance the runner on the ground ball chop handled by Escobar.
And I'll tell you what, any further over there, that would have gone by Escobar. As you see, he was headed over towards covering second base. And that ball by Cabrera is in an area that he could recover, go back, and make a play on it. But they do get a runner into scoring position right for the heart of their order.
Now Bautista, 1 for 2, singled into right in the first. There's ball 1. Two and 0. Lind on deck. So Cobb slowing the pace a little bit here in the 5th inning. You can't blame him for that. Low and outside. 3 and 0. Ground ball, shot up the middle, into center. Reyes will score. Bautista gives Toronto a 3-2 lead.
We talked about it last night. Jose Bautista's a guy in a 3-0 count. You got to be careful with the get over strike because he is going to have the green light all the time in that count. And that was a pitch right there by Cobb. It just catches a little bit too much plate. A big open spot there on the left side of the infield. And watch it find it.
You know, Bautista with such power, he hit it out anywhere, but we've seen him hit so many home runs to left. But he had a base hit to right in the first. That one toward the middle of the field. And it gives the Toronto Blue Jays the lead in the bottom of the 5th. Visit from Jim Hickey, and Adam Lind strides to the plate. Lind started the 2-run 4th inning with a base hit. His 1-out single led to 2 runs. Shot deep into left center field. Well tagged, and it's gone. 2-run home run, Lynn on the first pitch.
Third home run this season, but that's the second time that he's victimized Alex Cobb. Of course, in Alex's opening start of the season, it was the 3-run homer that got him. This one here, making the adjustment. So many first pitch curveballs for strikes. This one hangs a little bit. Alex knew it. Not fooled by that one.
There's Encarnacion taking a strike. A 2-run shot off the bat of Lynn. And a long one. Deep down the left side, and this one hit out of sight into the upper deck. Edwin Encarnacion hits his 16th home run of the year. He has had an unbelievable month of May. Encarnacion, 14 home runs this month. That ties a Blue Jays club record for home runs in a month. Bautista hit 14 in June of 2012. It's 6-2, a 4-run inning. The inning led off when Reyes hit that line drive off Cobb's right leg. And the Blue Jays have scored 4 times since then. Back-to-back home runs from Adam Lind and Edwin Encarnacion. One skied to the left side. That's foul and carries out a play off the bat of Juan Francisco.
Well, that's just how quickly it can turn with this offense. The way that they're swinging the bat, the 7-game winning streak, averaging almost 6 runs a game. They scored 10 against the Rays last night, and when Alex took the mound with that 2-run lead, you felt really good about the Rays' chances, the way that he's been throwing the ball. And just like that, they tie it up. A quick bottom half of the inning, or top half of the inning for Burley. And the Blue Jays go right back to work, and 4 quick runs here.
Francisco called out on strikes for the second time. They didn't take long to put up 4. Here's a strike to Brett Lawrie. Lawrie 2 for 2 tonight. One ball, 1 strike. Two runs in the 4th, 4 runs in the 5th. Cesar Ramos up in the Rays bullpen. Lawrie takes a big cut, bounces it foul. Lawrie is out on strikes to retire the side, but 4 runs score, 2 home runs in the inning. We're through 5. The Blue Jays have built a 6-2 lead. 75 home runs on the year and 2 blasts in the bottom of the 5th, giving them a 6-2 lead. We go to the 6th, and Evan Longoria takes the first pitch too low. Off speed from Mark Burley. His changeup down. The strike around the knees. Evan led off the 4th with a single and scored when the Rays took a 2-0 lead. That was quickly erased. On the corner. Now 1-2. 35-year-old left-hander out of St. Charles, Missouri. Up the right side with some slice. That's going to be a foul ball. Just barely foul. Brian Onora down from first, straddling the foul line and making the call. You see Onora, and that ball just foul. Two and two. Forsythe next, and then Jennings. High fly ball lifted towards center. Ghost coming in. That's the first out in the top of the 6th. Bottom of the 5th, the 4-run inning for the Blue Jays. Back-to-back home runs. Adam Lind, 101.4 off the bat. Encarnacion, 101.
And impressive with Adam Lind, the 101.4 the other way off of a breaking ball. That's some juice.
First pitch, Forsythe takes it for a strike. Forsythe has walked and singled and scored a run. Oh, 2 out front.
And every out that Burley gets, the closer you get to the back end of that Toronto bullpen. And now that they have Casey Janssen back, it's kind of put everybody else into their proper slot, and they are very difficult.
Yeah, that's made a big difference as well, as the Blue Jays have all parts of their game hitting on the proper cylinders right now.
And this is a bullpen that sent 2 guys last year to the All-Star game coming out of that bullpen, and one of them was not Casey Janssen. You had Brett Cecil, Steve Delabar. Manager John Gibbons has some options down there. And you're right, hard to imagine there's another team out there that's playing well in all facets of the game like the Blue Jays. Starting pitchers leading the way. The offense is hot. The bullpen's good. The defense has been good.
Well, a year ago they had such high expectations. They spent a lot of money, made some deals, signed some guys, brought them in here. They had some injuries early, and things just did not work out. Difficult for all of that new talent to gel and stay healthy. But boy, they're showing some signs of being really tough now. Reyes with a throw to first, safe at first base. Off the bag at first, Lind. Brian Onora with the call. Forsythe is safely aboard. That's going to be an error charged to Reyes.
Well, we mentioned the defense has been good, been a little bit shaky tonight. A couple of plays that I think the Blue Jays feel like they should have made. That one for sure. That was a routine ground ball to Reyes, and you can clearly see that throw pulls Lind's left foot off the bag. See if the Rays can hop on board, take advantage of that. Don't get too many opportunities against this team.
Well, Desmond loves to hit in this park and had some good numbers in his career against Burley. He might be the right guy to have up here. Pitch is high.
I think we're officially done talking about how the defense loves playing behind a quick worker, and they're on their toes and they're making plays for you. I think we can put that all to bed tonight. It's a big myth.
There's a liner up the left side. That ball's going to be in there. Heading back into the corner. Forsythe hitting third. They'll stop him there on the double by Jennings. And so Jennings does deliver a 2-base hit. And the Rays have something cooking in the 6th inning.
Well, the error by Reyes has opened the door. Now 2 runners in scoring position. You're down by 4. It's a huge hit here by Desmond Jennings. And he's been starting to heat up a little bit offensively last 6 games or so.
Sean Rodriguez doubled in a run in the 4th inning. He'll be up here now in the 6th.
I have a feeling this game's about to get a whole lot closer.
Down and in to Sean. Rodriguez 7 of 24 lifetime against Burley, including his double tonight. He sends one back into left center field. Cabrera on the run, making the call at the track. He makes the catch. Forsythe will tag and score from third. Jennings remains at second. And the Rays get their 3rd run. 2nd RBI of the night for Sean Rodriguez. And just not quite all of that one into left center field, but deep enough to get 1 run back.
Sean Rodriguez just missed that offering from Mark Burley. And that, well, what a difference that would have made. Well, you get 1, you still have a runner in scoring position. And Will Myers at the plate.
Myers 0 for 2 with a run batted in. Toronto has Laurie stationed up the middle. Pitch is low. Not a full shift on, with Laurie still on the first base side of second, but trying to take away the middle of the infield. And Burley's going to get a visit while the bullpen heats up. Pete Walker, the pitching coach, out there. Brett Cecil throws in the bullpen. There's a great new way for you to experience Rays baseball with the Rays Flex Packs. These 3, 6, or 9 game packs offer fantastic savings, allowing you to select any games you'd like during the season. To purchase your Flex Pack, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Big spot for Will Myers. Hot shot down to third. A low liner caught by Francisco to retire the side. 1 run for the Rays. 1 hit, 1 error, 1 left. They trail 6-3. To the bottom half of the 6th inning in Toronto. Our T-Mobile game changers. 2 of them back-to-back home runs in the bottom of the 5th inning. Adam Lind connecting for his 2nd home run of the year off Alex Cobb, a 2-run shot. Edwin Encarnacion followed that with a tremendous home run down the left field line. His 16th home run of the year, the 14th in this month of May. And now Cesar Ramos will take over on the hill, our Fiat pitching change. Cesar Ramos makes his 15th appearance on in relief of Alex Cobb.
Well, it won't be easy. The Rays down by 3, but if they have any chance of coming back, it's going to be the Rays bullpen having to shut this offense down going forward.
First pitch is a strike to Deoner Navarro, who had a big hit to drive in a run in the 2-run 4th inning. It was an opposite field RBI single. Navarro takes it into right center field, and closing the gap is Myers. 1 away.
You know, this is a Blue Jay offense that opened up the season at Tropicana Field. A 4-game set. The Rays and Jays split that 2-2. And for the series, the Blue Jays had 11 runs over the 4 games. And you could see 10 last night, 6 so far tonight. You're a little over a game and a half in, and already 16 runs in this series. They have made some strides.
Anthony Ghost, the center fielder. He shows bunt, takes a breaking ball high. With Ghost up here facing the lefty, the Rays have Rodriguez in and toward the line and left, and Jennings shaded toward left center. Upstairs, 2-0. 5 innings for Alex Cobb tonight. 6 runs, 9 hits. He struck out 7, walked 1, gave up 2 home runs through a wild pitch. Brad Boxberger up in the bullpen for the Rays. Down to third, grabbed by Longoria, up, and the throw in time to get Ghost. 2 outs.
A really, really nice play there by Evan Longoria, playing even with the bag at third, maybe even a little bit in. And Ghost trying to slap that ball by him. See where he's lined up right there on the line. Even with the bag slap, not a lot of time to react.
Nice job by Evan Longoria down at third. Now the guy who started the 4-run 5th with that line drive off Cobb's right thigh. Jose Reyes takes ball 1.
Well, he's now hit in 10 straight. 3 of his last 24. Just continues to be a catalyst for this offense.
Yeah, he's starting to heat up with the bat, the running game. There's a shot just missing. An extra base hit right there, a foul ball. And he can be such an impact player. Right-hander Delabar up in the bullpen. Pitch down, 2-1. Last night we were talking about the Canadian disruptive pattern in their camo design caps. Well, Reyes can be a disruptive pattern and force in this lineup
for this Canadian baseball team.
Did he go? Yes, he did. That's strike 2, says Brian O'Nora. Well, that's one of the things they hoped that they were getting when they added him to this team. They just need to keep him healthy. upstairs. So with 2 outs and the bases empty, we have a full count on Reyes, and Melky Cabrera is on deck. Braves batting in the bottom of the 5th. They're tied 2-2 with the Red Sox in Atlanta. And Reyes is aboard for the 2nd time tonight, this time on a walk. Comes with 2 outs. It's now time for you to tweet your photo using hashtag SunSportsFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown in our broadcast later in the game, brought to you by AT&T.
If you don't have a picture of yourself with Todd, Kelly, or Orestes, you need to make sure that there's a pet in there, and you'll make it. A pet with any type of Rays gear on, slam dunk.
A cinch.
Yeah. We're on to them.
Yeah, we've handicapped that pretty well. Reyes at first. Runner takes off. The pitch is a strike, and the throw skips away, deflecting over to Escobar, and a stolen base for Reyes.
2 nights ago, 3 stolen bases for Jose Reyes. He gets another one here. That's now 11 out of 12 on the season. That's what he brings, that element of speed and the ability to do that. Took that right in the ribs. That's what I had for lunch, Dwayne.
Ooh.
Ribs. That's why I'm over here doing this.
Good Canadian ribs.
Right.
A hot shot foul.
Oh, nice play.
Yeah.
Nice play. Letting that bounce get deep. Oh, backhand action.
And right back. As if he's done it before. Still a 2-strike count. Well, that had quite some hook on it as well. So nicely done down there. Impressing the spectators directly behind him. The count still 2 strikes. Rays are down 6-3. Brewers lead the Orioles 4-0 in the bottom of the 3rd in Milwaukee. Yankees and the Cardinals scoreless in the bottom of the 3rd in St. Louis. There goes Reyes stealing 3rd. The pitch hit up the middle. Base hit into center field. Reyes scores easily. The 7th run of the night, crossing the plate for the Blue Jays. They now lead 7-3.
And you know, this team's hot. Obviously, having won 7 games in a row, coming from behind in this game, and they're playing with a swagger. Look at Reyes. Look at the jump that he got. He was going to steal 3rd standing up. Melky Cabrera, though, finds the middle of the field, and I'll tell you, the Blue Jays have done a great job of 2-out hitting in tonight's game.
Now Bautista is up here. The Rays elect to walk him intentionally, which will move Cabrera up to 2nd, with the left-handed bat of Adam Lind due next.
You don't often see a move like this unless your manager feels extremely strong about a matchup. And obviously he doesn't feel real good about Bautista against Ramos, rather up against the lefty Lind, which, like you mentioned earlier in the game, Dwayne, he's not had many opportunities against left-handed pitching.
So Bautista will head to 1st. And that pushes Cabrera into second base. And Adam Lynn strides toward the plate as Molina goes out to talk with Ramos. Rays trying to stay within striking distance with 3 at-bats left here tonight. Adam Lynn, 2 out of 3, a single and a 2-run home run. He has scored 2 runs. First pitch is in there for a strike. Ground ball off the glove of Ramos, deflected to Escobar. Everybody's going to be safe. Hot shot back off the glove of Cesar Ramos. Lynn picks up a base hit, and now that will bring up Edwin Encarnacion.
That will bring out Joe Madden. Really not a fan of this matchup.
Edwin Encarnacion with the bases loaded. All of this with 2 outs. It started on the 2-out walk to Reyes, who has scored. That's going to be it for Ramos. We'll be back in a moment. With 2 outs and the bases loaded. Remember, fans, don't miss tomorrow's Wednesday night showdown presented by Mazda. The Rays taking on the Blue Jays. We'll be with you at 6:30 here on Sun Sports for the wrap-up game of this series. Brad Boxberger gets the call from the Rays bullpen. And what a spot he's in. Bases are loaded. And you can't think of a hotter hitter than Edwin Encarnacion.
And nowhere to put him. 2 outs, you've got to come in. You've got one job. Get Encarnacion out with the bases juiced. He homered his last at-bat.
First pitch, Boxberger misses low. Six grand slams for Encarnacion. Strike on the corner. Encarnacion belting a home run in the 5th inning, his 16th of the year, his 14th this month. And a balk has been called on Boxberger, and that's going to get Cabrera home. The other runners advance. The run scores on a balk, and now it's 8-3.
Well, let's take a look at it. Boxberger looking in for the sign. That right there, he started to go. I mean, just it's that subtle.
There's a broken bat. Oh, the bat breaks in half, splits it, and the ball fouled. So they'll pick up the pieces of that one.
You know, as Boxberger is bent over looking in for the sign, and he starts to come set, there's a slight pause, and that's what they got him on. It was that small. A big run for the Blue Jays, though.
Swing and a miss. A big cut. Encarnacion out on strikes. But the Blue Jays add to their lead. 2 more runs in the 6th inning. MLB action beginning with the Braves taking on the Marlins on Fox Sports 1. Then it's baseball night in America on Fox as the Rays battle the Red Sox. Our MLB doubleheader begins Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and continues at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox. It's an 8-3 ball game. We go to the 7th inning. James Loney in here against the veteran left-hander as Mark Burley delivers his first pitch, and it's a strike on the outside corner. Loney 0 for 2. There's a hot shot headed toward the right field corner. Loney will make the turn. Batista recovers, and the throw will not be in time. Loney has himself a double, his 12th of the year.
Well, Burley consistently pitching Loney in, trying to keep him from getting good extension. This one he's able to get the hands through, get it out the right field, and Jose Bautista was looking to get to that ball quickly and try to keep Loney at first base, but it got away from it.
Rays collecting their 8th hit. Burley over 90 pitches now as Jose Molina lifts a fly ball into right. Bautista makes the catch. Loney's going to head to third. And the throw is a little bit offline, and Francisco could not handle it. Loney advances after the catch on the fly ball.
Well, Joe Madden always talks about being in range of a team, in grand slam range. And so they're going to push the envelope here with Loney. You've got nothing to lose. You're down by 5. Try to get him to third with less than 2 outs. Get him in to cut it to 8-4. And then take your chances here towards the end of the game.
There's Matt Joyce. Matt takes it too low. Matt struck out trying to bunt back in the 3rd when he bunted foul with 2 strikes. Grounded into a 1-6-3 double play in the 5th. Pops it up straight back. That will be out of play. And the count is 1-1. Two balls and a strike. Man at third with 1 out. Joyce trying to get him home. Big shift on. There's a little check swing hopper left side, and it's going to be foul. Kicked in foul territory by Burley to keep it that way. So Matt heads back to the plate.
I don't know if Matt Joyce has taken a full swing against Burley yet. I mean, the ground ball double play was a check swing. There was a check swing.
The one hopper out to second base, deep and shallow right, and crossing the plate is Loney. So with Laurie stationed in short right field from second base, he throws out Matt Joyce, who does get the run home. That makes it 8-4. So 2 outs, bases empty, and John Gibbons comes out to make the pitching change. Burley goes 6 2/3, gives up 4, and leaves with 100 pitches and a chance to be the winning pitcher. We'll be back in a moment. Thirds and leaves with a 4-run lead. And he gives way to Steve Delabar. Delabar on to face Chanel Escobar. 24th appearance for the hard-throwing right-hander. Escobar goes after the first pitch and shoots it into center for a base hit. So that didn't take long. Escobar aboard on the first pitch.
Escobar's been very aggressive tonight, aggressive most nights. Led the game off. The base hit on the first pitch. First offering by Delabar. He strokes into center field.
And that gets Evan Longoria to the plate. That base hit by Escobar gives him 3 for 5 lifetime against Delabar. And you can see Longoria also now 3 for 5 against this right-hander. So after one pitch, Navarro out there taking some time with Delabar.
He was just reminding him he would probably more than likely want to change locations on this next offering to Longoria. Try to stay away from middle plate, thigh high. Always good advice.
The first pitch is in there, a strike call. Fly ball center field. Ghost going back. That had some carry. Ghost all the way to the track and makes the catch to retire the side. Middle of the 7th, the Rays get a run and trail 8-4. Well, the Rays open the scoring in this game in the 4th inning. Sean Rodriguez doubled. That got 1 run home. Myers got the other run home, and then with the score tied 2-2 in the 5th, home runs by Adam Lynn and Edwin Encarnacion very quickly made it a 6-2 contest. They went back-to-back in the 5th inning. Here we are moving into the bottom of the 7th. It's 8-4 Toronto. Josh Lukey's going to be the new pitcher for the Rays. Their 4th of the night. 6 runs charged to Alex Cobb, 2 runs to Cesar Ramos. Boxberger got credit for a 1/3 of an inning, and now Lukey in the game. faces Juan Francisco. A ball, no strikes. One and one. Lukey worked 2/3 of an inning in Sunday's game at the Trop against the Red Sox. Shoots this one deep into left center field. That ball is gone. Opposite field home run, the 9th of the year for Francisco. It's 9-4.
Last couple of days, we have watched Juan Francisco take some impressive BP, a tremendous amount of power, and that right there was almost a carbon copy of the home run that Adam Lind hit early in this game. Left-handed hitter, getting a breaking ball on the outer half and going that way with big-time power.
So the Blue Jays, who scored 10 runs last night, have 9 tonight. Here's Brett Laurie, towering fly ball to right center for Jennings. Desmond grabs this one for the first out. That ball hit a mile into the air after Francisco hit one a mile to left center.
You can just feel the confidence that this team up in Toronto here is playing with. The guys on the bench feeding off one another, trying to outdo one another. 10 runs last night, 9 runs tonight. This game's not even over yet. And this is against a Rays pitching staff that coming into this series had been throwing the ball very, very well.
Deoner Navarro. First pitch is a fastball for a strike. So it's now 9-4. Blue Jays, they've out-hit the Rays 12-9. Late swing by Navarro. Boston batting in the top of the 7th inning in Atlanta. The Braves lead that game 3-2. And the Brewers lead the Orioles 5-1 in the top of the 5th in Milwaukee. And Navarro out in front and over that pitch. So a strikeout for the second out in the 7th. Rays Summer Concert Series returns. Be a part of the first concert of the year when Weezer takes the stage after the Rays host the Mariners Saturday, June 7th. They'll play hits like Say It Ain't So, Pork and Beans, and Island in the Sun. Concert free with the purchase of that game's ticket. Get your tickets at raysbaseball.com/concerts or call 888-FAN-RAYS.
I bet they play,
Ghost takes it low.
I bet they play Sweater Song too, and Buddy Holly, which if you've never seen the video for Buddy Holly by Weezer,
it's worth it.
Yeah, they do it old Happy Days, and they kind of like they're playing it at the diner.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Okay, you're going to be there for the concert?
I may, only if they promise to play those two songs.
Here's Lukey getting the chop and a tag on Ghost halfway down the line to retire the side. Francisco's home run makes it 9-4 at the end of 7. As promised earlier in the game, we have the AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photo to hashtag #SunSportsFanPhoto for a chance to be shown in an upcoming game broadcast brought to you by AT&T.
Wayne,
a cinch.
We did it.
Absolutely.
Raise gear and a pet. Boom.
Perfecto.
I was getting a little nervous there. I didn't want to blow the first night.
Defensive changes here in the 8th. Steve Tollison in the game now at second base. Brad Lorry over to play third base. Logan Forsythe, 1 ball, no strikes. Backhanded. Reyes from short. On the money with the throw. 1 away.
I'll tell you what. Jose Reyes out there at shortstop has a quick release. He got to that ball in the whole backhand, and boy, he spins and gets rid of it so quickly. And we had the throwing error earlier in the game. This one right on the money.
Here's Desmond. He doubled in the 6th. Takes a strike. Rays at one time led 2-0. It's now 9-4. Toronto. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two and 1. Sean Rodriguez on deck. Steve Delabar on the hill in relief of Mark Burley. Delabar walks Jennings with a pitch inside. Second base runner given up by Delabar, surrendered a single to Escobar. And now the 1-out walk to Jennings.
It's been a trouble area for Delabar this year, the walk. Rays hoping that they can make something out of that. I'll tell you though, every time the Rays had obviously had the lead in this ball game, and Toronto came storming back, and then every time they tried to chip into it, Toronto answers.
There's Sean Rodriguez. Sean chops one foul. Sean with 2 of the runs batted in tonight to give him 19 on the year. Drives it deep into center field. Goes on the run, still going, and that ball's off the bottom of the wall. It'll be picked up on the carom by Bautista. Here comes Jennings in to score. Rodriguez goes all the way to third, and the Rays make it 9-5. Sean Rodriguez driving in. Desmond Jennings all the way from first base.
Well, Steve Delabar, he's thrown a lot of pitches out over the plate. There's been some loud contact. Even the ball that Forsythe hit to start this inning was hit sharply to short. This pitch right out over allows Sean Rodriguez to get very good extension and drive this ball way deep out into center field. And the Rays just will not go away quietly.
First triple of the year for Sean Rodriguez. Will Myers, there's a strike. So 20 runs batted in for Rodriguez. There's a shot back into left center field off the bat of Myers. It will be caught by Ghost in left center. A tag and Rodriguez scores, and the Rays have their 6th run. So Myers picks up his 2nd run batted in tonight. It's 9-6 now.
Yeah, and Will Myers didn't look real good coming off of first base. I thought that ball off the bat had good trajectory, did not have the carry, and Will Myers comes off first base kind of with a grimace on his face, flexing that left hand.
So James Loney is due. A pitching change coming. We'll be back in a moment. A couple runs here in the 8th. The last one coming on the sacrifice fly by Will Myers. And Will came away favoring that left hand.
A little bit ginger right there. You can see him pushing on it. Some discomfort.
Brent Cecil, the lefty, in there to face James Loney. Loney doubled and scored in the 7th.
.32 strikeouts, 21 innings for Cecil. 24 games. It's now the 25th. Heavy workload.
Finds the strike zone. 1-1. Two balls and a strike.
These last two relievers, Steve Delabar, he didn't have the good stuff tonight, but he was an all-star last year. Brett Cecil joined him on that team.
Takes the count to 2-2 on Loney.
I'll tell you what, that is a there's a lot of movement on that pitch. You don't see James Loney get fooled very often like that. That pitch, a tremendous amount of depth, good velocity at 86.
Well, the count is full.
These are the situations that James Loney has thrived in, not only this year, but since he came over to the Rays the beginning of last year. Later in games, 7th inning on, he's very good. He's good against lefties.
Taps it foul. You'll see another 3-2 pitch. Jennings walked. Rodriguez tripled him home. Rodriguez scored on the fly ball by Myers. Rays with 6 runs tonight, 10 hits, but they trailed by 3. There's a shot toward the gap. Ghost tries to catch it, knocks it down. It's going to be a single for Loney. So the Rays continue the 8th inning, collecting their 11th hit of the ball game. Loney 2 for 4.
Well, the Rays just continue to try to stay relevant in this game. Already with a couple of runs across. James Loney not going to go quietly. Another base hit late in the game. Good effort by Ghost, and it's a good thing he knocked that down. James Loney would be in scoring position if he hadn't.
Here's Molina 2 for 3 tonight. Takes a pitch high. Out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Rays with their 6 runs tonight. They scored 5 last night. Had 8 runs in Sunday's game. 1 ball, 2 strikes. They won Saturday 6-5 in extra innings. 6 runs tonight, but it's going to take more than that. Molina started to go after it. Check. Ball 2, 2-2.
You would better believe right now that offering by Cecil up, trying to get Molina to chase, and now going to come back here with something that has some depth to it. Change the eye levels.
Fly ball back into center field. Ghost on the run for this one. He's at the track, and he makes the catch to retire the side. Well, Molina gave it a bit of a ride. Rays scored 2. Bottom of the 8th coming, 9-6 Toronto.
a 9-6 game as we head to the bottom half of the 8th inning. 15 combined runs last night, 15 combined runs so far tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow on our Rays Live pregame show, driven by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers, we'll preview the finale of this 3-game series between the Rays and the Jays. Chris Archer back to the hill for Tampa Bay. It is a Web Wednesday, so get your questions ready for Dwayne and BA. You can email us at sunsportsrays@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at sunsportsrays. Coming up tonight after the game, Rays Live presented by Checkers. Rich and O will host down in our Fox studios. Dwayne and BA with their thoughts. I'll be gathering interviews from the Rays clubhouse, guys.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. As we head into the bottom of the 8th, Josh Lukey trying to hold the Blue Jays, facing the top of the order. Here's Reyes, and the first pitch is in for a strike. Lukey tagged for the home run by Juan Francisco in the 7th. So it's a 3-run deficit for the Rays. One and one. Reyes has scored twice. He's been on twice and has scored twice. A single in the 5th and a walk in the 6th. He has a steal of 2nd. Line drive into right, and it will be caught by Will Myers.
Or did it catch Will Myers?
Yeah, a little of both, I think.
That ball got on Will in a hurry.
Melky Cabrera. Cabrera has a run batted in and a run scored. Cabrera, the 5th leading hitter in the American League, out of the 2nd spot in the order for John Gibbons. Two and 0. Jansen, the right-hander. Rasmussen, the lefty. We saw him last night. Jansen, the closer. Right now, it's a closer game. 3 runs, 9-6. Ground ball to first. Loney steps on the bag. So 2 outs in the 8th inning. Rays in the 9th due to have Matt Joyce. Then back around to the top of the order, Escobar and Longoria. So who knows? Hold them here. Jose Bautista with a run batted in or a run scored. 2 hits on the night. Inside. Bautista with 36 runs batted in, so he's on a pace for a little over 100 RBIs this year. Big cut and a foul ball straight back. 1-1. Cobb gave up 6, Ramos 2. Lukey charged with 1. High chop off the plate, going to be tough. Charged by Longoria. Cannot come up with it. That's an infield hit for Bautista. Well, that big chop was going to make it difficult.
I would say impossible. Even if Evan Longoria gloves this, there's no way he's going to get rid of it and throw out Bautista. That was way off the plate, high in the air. Just an impossible play to make.
That gives Adam Lind another trip to the plate. This time facing the right-hander Josh Lukey. Lind hit a very big 2-run home run in the 5th inning off Alex Cobb. There's a strike. Cardinals have added to their lead. It's 5-0 Cardinals over the Yankees in the bottom of the 5th inning in St. Louis. One strike pitch to Lind. Ground ball headed toward the middle, and Escobar is there for it. No runs, a hit, and a man left. We're going to go to the 9th inning with the Rays down 9-6. Joyce, Escobar, and Longoria due up. To do this summer, kids, come play where the Rays play at the Rays Summer Baseball Camp. Create your own memories by hitting at home plate like Evan Longoria or pitching from the mound like David Price. To register, go to raysbaseball.com/camps. Matt Joyce will open the 9th inning against Casey Jansen. On for the 9th time. It'll be Joyce, Escobar, and Longoria. Jansen misses low. Joyce drove in a run with a ground ball in the 7th inning. Matt 1 for 5 lifetime against Jansen. And he fouls it back. Rays need a couple base runners to have a chance. And the first one is popped up. That ball is going to fall just out of the reach of Reyes, who was alone on the left side with that shift on. Reyes tried to make an over-the-shoulder catch. So Joyce is aboard. Well, there's one of the base runners.
This Blue Jay defense tonight been a little bit uneven. Well placed there by Joyce. A tough play by Reyes. Tough attempt. Couldn't do it. And the Rays, they've not gone away. They just continue to try to stay in this thing.
They have Kevin Pillar out there in left. He couldn't come in quickly enough. So here's Escobar. Takes a strike. Escobar, 1 of 2 lifetime against Jansen, that hit a home run last May. In fact, it was May the 20th when he connected off Jansen. One ball, one strike. So Joyce at first. Rays need another base runner. Evan Longoria is on deck, and Evan, by the way, is 3 out of 8 lifetime against Jansen. Ground ball chopped to third. Throw to first is going to be in time. Well, Laurie almost got caught in between there fighting that ground ball.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And not only that, but then the throw to first. He's not able to step into it. He gets rid of it quick, and he bounces it over to Lynn. That was by design, too, but he almost got caught in between. This hop right here backs up. That could have eaten him alive, and then just get rid of it and let the bounce get over to your first baseman.
That's the first out of the inning. And the second goes Joyce. Here's Longoria. Big cut and a miss by Evans. Strike one.
Well, Jansen's going to come at you with the fastball, slider, and curve. He will cut it. He throws strikes. Relies more on excellent command than pure stuff.
Strike on the outside part of the plate to Evan.
And that's the name of his game right there. When he's able to spot up like this, what are you going to do?
One on, one out. 0-2 the count. Up and in to Longoria as he started to wade into that one.
Well, look where the first 2 pitches were. They were down and away, perfectly located. Evans like, you know what, I got a cover out there. I got to be ready for that. So as he starts to lean, boy, he gets knocked down. And that pitch wasn't that far off the plate, if at all.
One, two. Took a shot outside, a little wide right there.
Yep.
2-2.
Trying to expand. Good take by Evan.
Now the 2-2 to Evan Longoria. Lifted to the right side. Tollinson out from second. Bautista coming in. And boy, that ball just caught at the last moment by Bautista. Boy, a couple of shaky situations here for the Blue Jays defensively, and they managed to survive both of them.
Yeah, well, this started, though, in the first inning. Their defense has been shaky all night. And that right there, oh, boy. You could see Jose Bautista calling for it the entire way, but Tollison's right out there. Look at that. He caught that ball not even looking. That ball found its way into Bautista's glove. That, wow.
2 outs now in the ninth. David DeJesus will pinch hit for Forsythe, who had a walk and a single. David was in the lineup in the first game of this series last night and connected for his 5th home run of the year in the 3rd inning of that game, and 2 hits and a walk. Rays still need another base runner down to their last out.
How often do you see a game on the line and your number 3 hole hitter pinch hit for him?
Not very often. First pitch is a strike. Rays have had a dozen hits tonight. You see the numbers for DeJesus and May, over 340. Foul. 0-2. Runner at second base is Matt Joyce. 2 outs, 2 strikes the count to DeJesus. He stays alive, fouling off that fastball up. DeJesus, 2 official at-bats in his career against Jansen, 1 for 2. Down 0-2 in this at-bat. Jansen tries it again. 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. Hits all over. Throw him a breaking ball. And the Blue Jays win this one 9-6. For the Rays in the 9th inning, no runs, 1 hit. They leave 1. They were out hit by 1, 13-12. They lead 6. Blue Jays left 7, and the Blue Jays win it 9-6.